Hello, my name is Julie Sigfrenius, and I want to welcome you to today's executive panel discussion featuring Claris CEO Brad Freitag, and who is hosting other growth-minded business leaders. Our agenda today will be in the form of really a candid discussion. This will be an interactive panel, and we're going to explore some common challenges that they face and how technology decisions have impacted their businesses. The section today is planned for 45 minutes, and most of this is going to be of discussion, but we want to invite you to also participate. So as this discussion is happening, if you have questions, please feel free to post in the question and answer control panel component of the WebEx, and we'll curate those. And during the last few minutes of today's presentation, we'll try to take questions from you. So now what I'd like to do is introduce our panel. First up, we have a host for this event and should be a familiar face to you. It is Claris's CEO, Brad Freitag. He himself is a business leader and also an expert when it comes to digital transformation. So welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Julie.
Now I'd like to introduce our special guests that are joining Brad for the discussion today. I'd like to start with Bob Spiegel. As an award-winning executive chef behind thousands of events over the past 30 years, Chef Spiegel has been one of New York's most respected and experienced catering chefs. Pinch Food Design was launched with a focus on revolutionizing catering and reinventing the way that parties look and how they feel, and changing the way that guests think about and interact with these events. Welcome, Chef Spiegel.
Thank you.
Next up is Jason Popp. He is the CEO of Moss. Moss is a leading global provider of experiential marketing solutions for events and exhibits in both retail and corporate environments. Moss partners with brands around the world to tell their story through compelling experiences. Across 3 continents, they have continued to sustainably blend materials and technology and techniques for these brand presentation endeavors. Welcome to you, Jason. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Julie.
Next up is Mario Fiumani from PIN USA. Over the past 24 years, PIN USA has grown to enjoy a reputation as an industry leader in collectibles, giftware, souvenirs. They specialize in customized pins and keychains and magnets. Having years of sustained success in worldwide sales, Mario is recognized as a trusted resource by industry peers and competitors. His specialties include international sourcing and integrating marketing across really complex sales channels. Thanks for joining us on the panel, Mario.
Thanks, Julie.
And last but not least, we have a Claris partner, David Knight from Angel City Data. Angel City Data is an award-winning consulting firm that has been a Claris partner for decades, and he has helped thousands of clients strategically with technology. In fact, one of his clients is here. I just introduced him. It's Mario. David is here as a representative of our Claris partner ecosystem. Our Claris partners are a worldwide group of over 1,400 organizations that design, develop, and support custom software solutions and help customers dramatically increase their efficiency and their productivity. Welcome to the panel, David.
Good morning, everybody.
So with introductions complete, I'd like to turn things over to our host. Brad, take it away.
Thanks so much, Julie, and welcome to all our panelists. It's exciting for me to meet with a group of CEOs, owner-operators, and particularly businesses that reflect really the heartbeat of the business community globally. This isn't so much the Fortune 500, this is more representative of the Fortune 5 million, and these are the organizations that employ most of the people around the world, in smaller chunks at a time. So it's great to have all of you here. I've got to know the panelists a bit through prior experiences, and what we're looking for today is for the panelists really to share lessons learned, best practices and their authentic experiences driving digital into their businesses. So with that, and maybe I'll turn to Mario to kick it off. Could you describe for me, I understand your business at its fundamental is really a design business, but how does technology stack within the priorities of what you need to do to operate PIN USA?
Okay. So Brad, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, in general, we do about anywhere between 12,000 to 16,000 designs per year for a myriad of clients. Prior to us meeting with David and bringing Claris on board, quite frankly, we were trying to keep track of all our projects on an Excel spreadsheet. So as you can imagine, by the time we got done to project number 48, the top ones were already obsolete because they were in transition. So at that point in time, I actually, if you remember back in the days, Claris came in a box format and you went to the local store and you picked it up, and I think I was on Claris FileMaker 4.0 at the time. And I kind of put it together myself. As you can imagine, it was a dinosaur and very remedial. And as time went on, I added on 4.5 and then 5 and then 6. And then about a year later, everything started to implode as our business was growing. So we got introduced to David, and quite frankly, he was our prince that showed up just at the right time, because as our business was growing, we just couldn't keep track of all the projects. And as you know, when a client calls up and asks for a question, you really want to have the answers pretty quickly. David said something very profound to me, and I thought he was actually Looney Tunes when he said that, but he told me that by the time we got done with our interview process and getting to know each other, he was going to know my business better than I knew my business, which I thought was quite profound. Needless to say, David was 100% right, because he made me get down to my business on a very, very granular scale. And actually, he interviewed everybody from my artists, from my accounting department, from our warehouse people, and we dissected our business in such a way that I would have never done myself. And what came out of that was this amazing program that, quite frankly, is the backbone of our business. Every single one of our account executives, everybody in accounting, everybody in the order department, literally, I would say, lives in Claris #1 and in emails #2. The other thing that David did was he actually made the database very sexy. So it's very much in brand. As you know, the name of our company is PIN USA. So it's red, white, and blue. It's got the US flag. And it's a great thing for us to showcase when we have clients in our facility. But more importantly, what he did is he broke it down into segments to where all of our account executives and everybody, quite frankly, has their own dashboard. And everything is very, very visual and very color-coded. So for example, if Bob Smith comes in, logs in, Bob Smith's dashboard pops up, and immediately it shows everything in color code. Everything in red is late, everything in yellow is due today, and everything in green is in the pipeline. And it's live. So at any point in time, anybody in the building could actually access that data and see exactly where a project is. So Brad, if you were to call me up and say, Mario, where's the pins that you promised me for my event this Friday? As we're on the phone, I could literally jump into Claris, tell you exactly where that pin is at in its process, whether it's art, manufacturing, when it was shipped, when it was here, when it got delivered, etc. So quite frankly, we cannot live without Claris on a daily, hourly, minute-by-minute basis. So that in a nutshell is kind of what prompted us to bring Claris on board. And again, we can't live without it. And I think over the last 16 years, we're on phase number 28, because each year we meet with Dave and his team and we're constantly tweaking. He's constantly coming up with ideas and giving us best practices of other people that have done stuff that's cool as hell. And we like to be cool as hell. So, we keep implementing that and keep elevating the process.
I love it. Thanks, Mario. And I will hold on to the fact that David Knight is now a prince and he is associated with the adjective sexy. So that's a good start. It's clear that technology is indispensable to what you're doing at Pin USA and really every function of your business. Chef Bob, maybe we'll go to you a little bit. Tell me about when you initiated a digital strategy in your business, and what were those initial steps you took to bring technology to life as a part of what you're driving?
Well, basically, I'm a control freak, and in order to grow the business, I sort of had to keep an eye on everybody. So Claris helped me create a platform way back in 1996 with FileMaker 3, before they had relational databases and before the big blow up of FileMaker 7s and 12, for those who know. It was like a big video game for me, but it gave me an ability to see everything that was happening with our business. And later on, we integrated an email solution where the database does automatic emails internally to clients, to booking staff. We have over 400 waiters and part-time chefs that work events here in New York City. And so in order to manage them, we had to create lots of different systems. I would say that Claris has saved me a tremendous amount of funds with hiring other staff to do more clerical, more communication, more production, because the minute someone is done with a task, it communicates through to everyone else what has been done immediately, and that just creates a seamlessness that we're able to produce really quickly. It's like a community. I would say that to this day, and I think I've been designing, I don't know how many years that is, I continue to get requests of, can we do this? Can we do that? For catering, there was no over-the-counter solution. They have a few, but catering in New York City is like nowhere else in the world. We have 7 events today. We have 60 events this week. They're all unique. They're all store openings or product launches. A lot of them are tech. Some of them are old school. Some of them are weddings. And Claris just does everything for us. It figures out beverage counts. We just recently, during the pandemic, during the shutdown of catering, we had Jovial Digital. A friend of mine, Brad Pickard, helped me design an app using the FileMaker API, which is a Claris product. And now all of our staff are running around with a beautifully designed app that integrates with our database that's here. And just to remember, I'm a chef. I was yelling at somebody today that the chicken was overcooked. I'm not like a tech guy. That's what I do. But I have completely and fully designed the database and continue, to tinker with it today. I was really good at Pac-Man in the 80s, and this is an extension of some of those skills.
Great background. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You too?
Guilty.
I'll take you on, David.
Jason, in terms of advancing digital strategy, you've described your implementation for me, which is very impressive. Tell me a bit about how you think about improvement and what increments of work you take on at any given time to advance what you're doing digitally. You've got to prioritize that, I know, against other areas of business development, innovation. So maybe give us a little perspective about the ongoing continuous improvement.
Sure. Yeah, and as you mentioned, Brad, Claris is but one part of our digital tech stack, right? And that's what part of the real benefit is. It integrates perfectly with some of the other key technologies that we use. We use Salesforce.com as our key CRM. We utilize a back-end information system that allows us to visualize just the myriad bits of data that we generate in our business. So it's an incredibly important part. And I think, I would share what Mario said. It is the backbone of our business. In fact, we call our Claris implementation Moss OS because it is the operating system that runs our business. The way we think about furthering this is really understanding that we've got this interesting dichotomy at Moss. We're a team of specialists, but we have to operate as a team. And so when you think about our process, it begins with account executives and account managers, which are typically front of office. And then it moves through a production cycle that's iterative. So we go through pre-flight people, technical designers, folks who work in CAD, patterners, and then it moves into our production floor, which is all thankfully in one building outside of Chicago. And then it moves within a wide variety of different specialists on the production floor. It could be painters, printers, assemblers, stitchers, etc. Now, our COO has a great saying. She says, we don't have people issues, we have process issues. And we utilize our Claris FileMaker deployment really as a way to ensure that our processes are buttoned down, watertight, and clearly appropriate for each one of those different departments. We don't want a stitcher at Moss or a printer at Moss getting confused and looking at a screen that's more appropriate for somebody in shipping or somebody in our final review area. So we've developed these bespoke screens that allow each one of our production departments to only see what's relevant to them at that moment. We're really trying in a real-time way to deliver that information to them so they can see dashboards that's relevant to their business. Similar to Bob, I'm a control freak, and what we're effectively doing is we're giving the control to those production people at any moment in time, so they're just seeing what they need to see, really reduces mistakes. We're a Lean Six Sigma driven company. Quality is how we differentiate ourselves. That's how we justify, our higher prices in the market, our ability to be the exclusive provider in the market. And this is a backbone that's essential to that.
That's awesome. David, maybe you can chime in when you hear Jason and our other guests talking about how they think about the technology, the process orientation, the design of the various applications they're using. How do you advise clients to get started, to lay out a strategy, and then to advance it as they go?
That's a great question, Brad. One of the things I just have to tell you, as there's two parts of me. There's technologist and entrepreneur. As I look at this panel and listen to the stories, not only are these people control freaks, which welcome to the club, but also premium organizations that have really strong brands and have tools that work with that. One of the things that we say, Brad, there's kind of an old story. You got two baseball players, and one gets a hit and runs to first base with great form, and the other one gets a hit and runs to first base with bad form, and they both get there at the same time. Who do you want to work with? We want to work with the one with bad form because we can make them faster. So when we see a small business that's got great DNA or got that great sort of secret sauce to their business, but they're not operationally smooth, that's a great opportunity for us to come in there and straighten out those kinks. And one of the things that ironically last week on one of the webinars, there was a really good point made about how Claris FileMaker is so great at that operational center. You can have some things on the front end like Jason was talking about Salesforce, and you can use an accounting package on the back end. But that mojo in the middle is what you do that makes you as a business owner. And I think capturing that and optimizing that is such an important part of the process. So to answer your question, Brad, we like to sit down. We want to absolutely make sure that we capture the essence of what they're doing really well, and let's mold the software to them instead of bending them to fit into a piece of software that impacts how and what they do so successfully.
Great, thanks, David. Yeah, so the emphasis really is on that custom digital experience that's appropriate for their business, for their process, for that CEO or owner's vision, and to make the organization better based on what's unique about them. I've heard each of you talk about ROI and in slightly different ways. Mario, I've heard you talk about it really as a differentiator in converting more sales. That when you show your very impressive clients how you operate, the sophistication in your systems, that gives them confidence. And Jason, I've heard you talk about it more about driving process efficiencies for your organization. Bob, I heard you describe ROI really on behalf of your clients by bringing you in. In many cases, they may be hosting a fundraiser, and your goal is for them to see a lift in the fundraising goals by hiring you on. Could you each speak a little bit about ROI, what you look for, including how you prioritize the investment into your digital strategies?
Sure, Brad. Do you want me to start?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So just a couple of things, Brad. First of all, I will tell you, I've actually had one of my major clients come into Pin USA and literally bring their executive team here just to see our Claris system, which we so fondly call Lola. And at the end of the little tour, they actually said, you really should get out of the pin business and really market this program, because it really is that powerful. Over the past 2.5 years, we all lived through COVID. What made so much sense in our business was we ended up losing about 30% of our staff just because of the evolution of the business. But with that happening, the new people that were taking over accounts that they didn't have, they were literally able to go right into Lola and pick up the ball from another account executive without missing a beat. And if that client was to say, about 4 years ago, we worked on this breast cancer pin. As they're talking, that account executive could pull up that project, pull up the art, give them every single detail about that. So you just can't put a value to how important that is to keeping a business functioning. And I think as we live in 2022, there is a lot of transition, not only internally, for example, at Pin USA, but so many of our clients have changed, moved on. You get a new buyer that comes in, and that new buyer that comes in has no knowledge of history. We could literally go back for, let's say we've been dealing with that client for 15 years, pull up every single project over the last 16 or 15 years and give them a report on that. I just can't stress enough how important that is. And from an ROI standpoint, the amount of time it saves us. And again, I use that example. We get a new buyer that comes in. I'll use that breast cancer example again. And they say, we want to come up with something new again this year, but we don't know what we've done in the past. Literally at the click of a button, I could pull up what I've done every year for the past 15 years, email it to them, and it kind of blows their mind that I could do that so efficiently, so quickly. And I think coming back into what you brought up earlier, Brad, at the end of the day, we're all in sales. And we believe that if we don't have a client before they come into Pin USA, by the time they walk out of our showroom and see our back of the house and see Lola, we got them for life, because I don't care if you're Coca-Cola, that we can handle projects as small as can be or as big as can be with complete efficiency. So for us, we just can't imagine life without it. And we constantly, as I mentioned earlier, are looking to evolve in it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We do we're a food design company, and we marry food with food furniture, which are pieces of furniture that we build here at Pinch and that we send out to parties, and we cater parties, for the Museum of Modern Art and a whole bunch of really high-end, unique events, and a lot of it's custom and a lot of it's creative. In our business, every event is different. An event is alive. All of it is custom. So therefore, we have to hire a lot of creative, unique people and really focus on creativity. So in order to deliver what we build, which is these food design experiences where create an ROI for, like you said, galas or corporations that are coming out with a new Claris product. Claris is not one of our clients, just to let everybody know, but we do have Apple and a whole bunch of the other ones. Having our people focus on the creativity is really what we want them to do, and having a backbone like a Claris system helps us execute and not worry about all the little details, and there's not a lot of pens and paper running around. There's information that's spread very, very quickly throughout our staff, and everybody speaking knows an issue exactly when it happens for an event. For instance, a party can go up from 300 to 500 people the day before because there's a lot of RSVPs. So immediately when that guest count goes up, which departments are notified to bring more beverage, to get more fish, to grab more staff, to change timelines, to get more staff. It's a lot, and the system does a lot of it without anybody really panicking and running around going, what are we going to do?
Got it. No, I love that. So yeah, the system really enables your organization to be more creative, and your creatives to be more specialized in what they do.
Backbone to fall back on, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
All of Bob's talk about food furniture is making me hungry. It's dinner time here in Belgium, so
the kitchen's right here. We can make you up a plate.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, very similar. So we have, we're really dealing with three dynamics here in our business post-pandemic. So one is just a greater willingness in our client base to order digitally. So they're more comfortable transacting digitally, excuse me. And so we've developed tools for them to order simple prints online and have those delivered within 24 hours. But more on the back end, what we're also finding is that clients are planning with a lot less lead time. So we are not getting the visibility of projects that we used to pre-pandemic. So, very similar to what Mario and Bob are saying, we're having to be very nimble in our deployment of resources because we're reacting to things very, very quickly. We're having to race up staffing in peak months, and that's requiring us to bring in a lot of new people and train them on very, very quickly in what's a fairly complicated process. And then lastly, we are seeing a lot of the staff turnover. And so this whole training mechanism that we have with Claris FileMaker is critical. And I really don't see any of those three dynamics changing anytime soon. We're seeing it now move to Europe, where I am right now, where traditionally people were less comfortable operating digitally. It was really more of a pen and paper environment. That's completely changing. So we're having to be, I think the winner in this environment is the one who moves as quickly and nimbly as possible. And we see our tech stack and our deployment of Moss OS, which I'm obviously going to have to come up with a far better name like Mario has. That's a key part of our DNA and a key part of how we're going to win here.
That's awesome. Jason, stick with the theme for a second because you're really talking about velocity as a significant part of the return for you. What about visibility? I know you and I have talked about that. You mentioned you're using a variety of cloud systems, which I sense most of our customers are using. Many are using, in addition, legacy systems. And so integrating that information, creating visibility in the form of business intelligence or something along those lines, dashboarding has become increasingly critical. How do you look at that visibility and alignment aspect of your business and measure that as a function of return?
It's a great question. It's something we think about a lot. I think we, as business people, one of the big challenges we have now in 2022 is that there's just an incredible amount of data available. But the problem is data is not intelligence. So you could become inundated with this information. You could become overwhelmed with this information if you're not careful. So what we've done at Moss is we've created, I think, an outstanding system in which we use Domo as our data visualization system. Domo is fed by all of our other tech platforms. So Salesforce, Claris FileMaker, Moss OS, and Business Central, which is our accounting system, amongst others. So we're seeing a wide variety. We've got our HR system, which is Paylocity, which is also feeding Domo. So we can, in one place, see how all of this information comes together. We can look at, complex elements like lead time by customer type, profitability by product types of things that were not available previously. And it's, Domo is but one data visualization tool. I know a lot of folks use Tableau or Power BI. There's a wide variety of them out there. The key is really having the knowledge of your business, track record of really understanding what moves the needle to be able to tell how do we crystallize all of this data into meaningful KPIs that you can act on, and that you're not looking at tens of thousands of them and losing yourself in the trees, but maintaining a little bit of forest perspective.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Separating signal and noise and being able to act on the right information sounds like the value for you. David, maybe you can kick us off on what is my final question before I get the hook from Julie. It's hard as a CEO running an organization of hundreds of people to get the right information, to get solid strategic guidance, to stay informed about technology. I probably have an advantage because I live in Silicon Valley and run a technology company, but it's a real challenge for all of the CEOs I talk to. How do you work with CEOs, and what guidance do you give them about staying current on digital strategy with the right amount of information so it doesn't overwhelm them, doesn't intimidate them on the things they can't do, which generally speaking, multi-million-dollar, multi-year projects are a non-starter for the mid-market companies I talk to. But incremental projects, are very doable. Anyway, how do you help them create a brain trust so that they feel more confident making good decisions?
That's a great question. It's a two-part thing, I think, Brad. I think first and foremost, know your customer. Mario and I have a great relationship, meets multiple times a year, talk about where his business is going, what's going on in the marketplace, et cetera. Secondarily, we're technologists, and we feel the responsibility of scouring the landscape and paying attention to what some industry trends are, advantages in technology and so forth, and then marry those two together. But one of the things that Mario will tell you, we are sort of into this quarterly business review where we sit with our existing customers and really tag, here's some cross-pollination. We just got through working with somebody integrating this great technology with their core operational system, and it helped them with X, Y, and Z. I love cross-pollination, a great idea in one industry that you can introduce to another organization or industry that all of a sudden sets them on fire. I think that can be very powerful.
Very cool. Thanks, David. Bob, Jason, Mario, anything on how you stay informed, good resources, best practices you might share?
Well, it's the kids. The kids, know technology, and we follow the kids. I'm not. I used to have an answering machine, and now I've upgraded to TikTok, and whatever else is out there, and however else we can see what's going on currently. But everything is moving so fast. But Claris has been able to, with container fields and web browsers, and there is a way to integrate. There is a way to do so much with it. I remember when I was designing FileMaker that one time somebody broke into my storefront, threw a garbage can through the glass door and stole someone's bicycle. And it was like 3 a.m, and I got here to, patch it up. And I thought, well, I'm here. I might as well keep designing. I just became so obsessed with designing. I think these guys know. You get so obsessed with every nickel and dime, and how every change that you make within the system is permanent and affects the business in the long run.
Great. Mario, Jason, any parting thoughts?
No, I mean, I've always kind of been an early adapter anyway. I'm the geek that would stand in line for the new Apple phone when you could do that, and my new one is already ordered. You know, I mean, it's just kind of a passion of mine. You know, I've been an Apple nerd for as long as you know I could remember, and Dave and I talk about that stuff. But you know, I think if you are going to be in the business climate today, you know, as Bob said, you know, certainly listening to kids. I mean, I have, you know, three, you know, 39, 27, and 24. You know, what are they into? You know, what's going on there? You know, constantly, you know, consuming, you know, for example, I live in Flipboard, and you know, it's great because you could really fine tune what you're going to consume there, and so much of that is technology based. As Dave said, you know, we get together, you know, one of us doesn't call the other one will. It's like once a quarter we get together, either professionally or for breakfast, and we're tossing ideas back and forth. And you know, Dave will often say, you know, have you thought about this? Or you know, again, he's really good about, you know, sharing best practices as to, you know, an unrelated business did this, and you know, right away I'm also thinking about how that will integrate into ours. And then the final thing that I want to say is one thing that we've been really good about is listening to our employees. And we'll often have our employees come up and say, you know, 8 times a day I'm clicking this button. Is there any way we could automate that so I don't have to keep clicking it? And something as simple as that, you know, 8 times a day times, you know, 5 times a week or 5 days a week, etc. You know, those are the little things that really propel and save you a tremendous amount of time, energy, and you know, coming back into your ROI question, you know, at the end of the day, I think if you're going to really survive in 2022 and beyond, you got to be efficient. And I think one of the things that COVID taught us is we're actually more efficient with 30% less staff. But a big part of that is because, you know, Lola lives in their home, it lives in their office, they could access all the information, you know, literally instantly. So kudos to all of you.
Excellent. All right. Well, this has been a very nice discussion. I've enjoyed as our audience has through the comments that I've been reading during this session. So this has been great. If I think we have time for a brief question, and maybe if you can each share. I'm sure in the journeys of each of your businesses, you have used off-the-shelf technology, and then you chose to go down a path of creating something that would work the way that your business works. Can you share just any moment of inflection point where you realize that was the right path for you? Because that's an endeavor, right? It's a leap of faith to decide to sort of build your own or get somebody that can help build it for you. Do you have a moment that you can share where you were like, that was the right decision for my business?
Well,
I'm in a
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say I'm in a unique position in that I came in as a CEO here. We're private equity owned. I came in as CEO during the depths of the pandemic. So I didn't have the continuity that, say, Mario and Bob have using the system. I observed it from the outside. I had come from a public company environment, much larger business, and saw more off the shelf solutions. I saw the flexibility that MossOS was providing us. We've recently hired 2 full-time developers to work for our business because we see, as Mario just said, we see there's a return in the flexibility. There's a return in being able to minimize the number of clicks and the speed at which people are able to do certain things, that we need to have that velocity of programming, velocity of development. And we can't afford to just do that using outsourced resources. So we've made an investment in terms of bringing 2 folks on. And to me, that's the convincing point that I would be willing to sign up for that kind of an expense. We certainly see a return on it.
Excellent.
Julie, can I a quick follow-up to Jason? For the 2 full-time developers he has, I had shared on a recent webinar, Jason, that with my internal Claris developers, I've had to establish some working vocabulary so that we get on the same page, right? Because they can come to me with a billion ideas and all of them sound great. We have to prioritize them. And so I give them this kind of 5 points approach to prioritization so they know, I care about time, I care about ROI. How do you interact with the developers? What can you draw out of them? What was the learning curve so that you can bring the best out of each other?
Well, what I would just say is the prioritization can't be done by the developers. We decided to bring them on staff because we have a complex business. It's very, very bespoke. It's very customized. And so our different steps, no one project is similar to the next. And so we need to have a lot of that flexibility. Effectively, projects are prioritized or deprioritized by a steering committee. What's great is both our COO and our VP of IT are extremely adept in the system. They understand Moss OS, they understand Claris FileMaker extremely well. So they know the possibilities of the system. They also understand the business extremely well. And so they're able to say, please work on this. We need to prioritize this particular fix because this is the red hot issue at the moment. Deprioritize that, we'll get to it later. We really kind of work on a rolling 12-month set of projects. So we're not feeling like we're jumping back and forth on things and sort of running after the next shiny thing or running around with our fire hose looking for the biggest flames.
So you can align priorities based on understanding of the technology, the scope, and with the people who are implementing, they also have an understanding of the business.
It has to be done by the business. Otherwise, people will gravitate to say the best worded business case or the most compelling person who's brought the project to them or who showed up first on Monday morning. So we really try to do it in a business driven way.
Sorry, David, I think I was interrupting you.
No, I was saying that to the question that Julie asked about, was there a light bulb moment? I think that there are several banquet database off-the-shelf products. The problem is most of those people need to sell many units to many varieties of businesses, and what they design is sort of very generic. And when you design something custom in-house, you can go from A to B really lightning quick and get exactly what you want. When you use something on the outside, they probably add 5 or 6 intermediary steps of setting something up, and it doesn't exactly work with what you want. And I think that for anybody out there that has not used Claris or FileMaker, just jumping in it, and you can design a simple database in an hour or even less, just to see. I've got a whole bunch of different Claris files just for fighting parking tickets in New York. I get about 7 or 8 parking tickets in New York. So we have just the ticket database, which is just one file and will help us create menus. And hopefully the city's not listening to this, and we're able to fight our parking tickets and see what menus we have all over the city. So it's like having a Microsoft Word document or Excel. It's just another program that can become something big like it has for our companies, or it can be something that can help you organize.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Bob. We are approaching time, so I just want to kind of flash up our closing document or our closing slide for all of you. And as that occurs, I think that should be coming up. I do want to express just my appreciation for all of the time that each of you took today to have this discussion. We hope for those of you that were listening in that this was a valuable discussion for our attendees. We hope that this was worth your time and that you found it helpful as you navigate your own businesses. And as is being flashed up, possibly, or will be in just a moment, perhaps. This is just the start of really a discussion that we want to have that's ongoing. We want to really drive toward a continuous discussion on the subject of best practices, and so this is really the start of that. And for those of you that are listening and are interested, this fall we will have a CEO roundtable. The audience intended, as listed there, are owners and principals, very similar to the panel that we have today. We want to discuss really about a format of gathering like-minded individuals to be able to discuss methods, best practice guides, sharing of what's worked, what hasn't. And if you would like to participate and be a participant in the CEO Roundtable, we have flashed up on this screen Brad's executive assistant, Melon Moores. Please just reach out to her and raise your hand if you are, a principal or a CEO and would like to participate in one of these discussions in the future. I hope that Bob and Mario and Jason and David don't feel that this was too painful. And then secondarily, we do ask, we want your feedback. Please fill out the survey. It's 3 questions. It will take you 30 seconds, but we do want to know your impression of this particular session. So with that, Brad, I will give you the last and final word to close out the session, but thank you all for participating. Over to you, Brad.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, so for our audience, I would love you to join in this fall CEO roundtable. And again, this is for decision makers around driving digital strategy. We will share with each other. I will be a participant, much like we're talking today about how to execute that. So I hope you are able to join us. And then for our panelists, my huge thanks. Great chatting with each of you today. This is a fun discussion and one of my favorite things to do. So I really appreciate the wisdom you've been able to share with our audience and with me, and look forward to continuing the relationship. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.